Well, welcome back to Created to Create podcast this week. And I'm really glad that you're here today because this episode is for every creative who ever has felt not good enough, behind everyone else, or afraid that to share their work. Because today we're talking about something that quietly affects so many artists, and this is fear and comparison. And here's the truth we're anchoring in on today, that comparison kills calling. So let's start with scripture. And it says, am I now trying to win approval of human beings or of God? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. Galatians 1:10. We live in a world that every creative is constantly on display. Scroll for 10 seconds and you'll see it. Someone more talented, someone more consistent, someone more successful. And without even realizing it, you start to measuring yourself up against them. Social media isn't the problem, but comparison is. Because comparison shifts your focus from what is God asking me to create to how do I measure up? And those are two completely different questions. One leads to purpose while the other leads to pressure. So when your creativity becomes performance driven, you stop creating from obedience and you start creating for approval. But your calling was never meant to be shaped by an algorithm. God didn't give you your creativity so that you could compete. He gave it to you so that you could obey. Even if no one sees it, even if no one likes it, and even if it doesn't blow up. Because obedience is success in God's eyes. So let's talk about fear. See, the fear of what people will think, not being good enough, failing publicly, or being misunderstood. This kind of fear is subtle, but it's powerful. It can stop you from starting, it can keep you from finishing, or it can silence you from sharing. But here's the reality. Fear is one of the biggest blockers of worship through art because it keeps your gift hidden. And often fear sounds like this: it's not ready yet. I need to improve more first. But what if people don't like it? But underneath all of that is this: a desire to be accepted. And while that's human, it can't be what drives your creativity. Because if you wait until you feel fully confident, fully ready, or fully approved, you might never release what God has placed in you. And at some point, you have to create anyway, share anyway, and step out anyway. Not because you feel fearless, but because you trust God more than your fear. This is where everything shifts, because who are you really creating for? Because your answer to that question determines everything. If you're creating for people, you chase trends, you fear opinions, and you're constantly adjust yourself. But if you're creating for God, you pursue obedience, and you grow in authenticity, and you find freedom. See, creating for God doesn't mean ignoring people. It means not being controlled by them. And it means that your worth isn't tied to likes, views, comments, recognition. And it means that you can create something simply and still know that it matters because God sees it. And when He is your audience, you're free from the pressure of needing everyone else to approve. And that's where real confidence grows, not in applause, but in alignment. So let's pause for a moment, and I want you to sit still with this question. Whose approval are you really creating for? And be honest with yourself. Is it people online, a specific person, or your own expectation? Or is it God? There's no shame in your answer, just awareness, because once you recognize it, you can begin to shift it. Here's what I want you to remember. You don't need to be the best. You don't need to be the most seen, and you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be faithful. Faithful to what God has placed in you. Faithful to your unique voice. Faithful to your assignment. There is space for you, and there is purpose in your creativity. And there is freedom when you stop comparing. Your calling doesn't need competition, it needs obedience. And here's your challenge this week. Create something and don't measure it. Don't compare it, don't overthink it, and don't chase validation. Just create it as an offering to God. And if you feel led, share it anyway. Not for applause, but as an act of obedience. So I just want to say thank you for being here today. It's a bit of a tough subject. But if this podcast has spoken to you, share it with another creative who might be struggling with comparison. Remember that you weren't called to compete. You were called to create. So stay focused and stay faithful to that.